The wind is howling. Snow blinds your eyes. And across the freezing water, you see it. Another island, just a short boat ride away. But here's the catch. If you step onto that land, you won't just be in another country, you'll be in another day. You'll have left yesterday behind. Because these two lonely islands in the Bering Strait are only 2 miles apart, yet they are separated by 21 whole hours in time. How can two places so close be so impossibly far apart? Welcome to the Diomede Islands, 2 dots of land floating between Alaska and Siberia, trapped in ice and fog for most of the year. From the shore of one, you can stare directly at the other. They're neighbors you could almost shout across to. But the invisible line that runs between them, the international date line, makes them worlds apart. On the eastern side is Little Diomede, belonging to the United States. Around 80 hardy souls live here, clinging to the cliffs in a tiny Inupiat village. Across the water lies Big Diomede, claimed by Russia. Bigger, harsher, and utterly empty, except for a Russian border guard post. Here's where the paradox begins. When it's Monday on Little Diomede, it's already Tuesday on Big Diomede. The water between them has been nicknamed the Ice Curtain, because while the islands are so close, the date line makes them feel like they exist in 2 parallel worlds. But if geography alone explains the time gap, why does this icy border feel so much like a scar from history itself? During the Cold War, the Diomede Islands weren't just a quirky footnote on a map. They were a front line. Families of Inupiat, people once lived on both islands, traveling back and forth to hunt, fish, and visit relatives. But when tensions erupted between the Soviet Union and the United States, the channel between the two became a forbidden zone. The Soviets evacuated Big Diomede's native population and turned the island into a military base. Overnight, families were split apart. On Little Diomede, American villagers could still look across the water and see the homes of their cousins and uncles, but they could never visit again. Imagine watching your relatives just 2 miles away, yet knowing the ocean between you might as well be 1,000. It's no wonder the islands earned their eerie nicknames. Tomorrow, island for Russia's Big Diomede, and yesterday, island for America's Little Diomede. But as much as politics froze the islands in isolation, the environment itself shaped them into something even stranger. What kind of life can even survive out here, where land and time itself twist into paradox? On Little Diomede, the village huddles against towering cliffs of bare rock. The people here live without roads, without cars, without any of the conveniences most of the world takes for granted. Supplies arrive only by helicopter in winter, and by boat when the ice breaks in summer. The ocean is both a lifeline and a prison, locking the community in when storms close the skies. Electricity flickers. Internet barely reaches the island. Children go to a small school where classes are sometimes interrupted by howling winds rattling the windows. Life is survival, but it is also tradition. The Inupiat people continue hunting walrus, fishing, and teaching their children the skills that allowed their ancestors to thrive in one of Earth's harshest climates. Everyday existence here feels timeless, almost outside of the modern world. But the paradox deepens when you realize that just across the water, on Big Diomede, nobody lives anymore. Only Russian guards endure the same storms, stationed to keep the border sealed. How did 2 islands with shared ancestors end up so utterly divided? One alive with people, the other nearly silent. To understand, you have to look at the invisible border that separates them. The international date line. Unlike the neat lines we draw on maps, the date line is messy. It zigzags across the Pacific Ocean, bending around countries and territories to avoid splitting them into different days. But between the Diomedes, the line cuts straight through. Stand on Little Diomede, and you're in Alaska, following you. S-time. Look across to Big Diomede, and you're staring at tomorrow. already lived by Russia. A kayak trip across the channel would technically let you time travel, leaving yesterday behind and arriving in the future. It's a mind-bending idea, but it raises a strange question. If humans invented time zones, why did we choose to draw them in ways that create these bizarre situations? The Diomede Islands are just one example of geography colliding with human decisions. Borders reshape reality more often than we notice. There are towns where one half of the street follows one country's laws, while the other half follows another's. There are villages cut in two by fences, rivers, even walls. But none feel quite as surreal as the Diomedes, where the divide isn't just space, it's time itself. Here, the Cold War froze human connections, and the dateline froze perception of reality. For the villagers on Little Diomede, tomorrow is always within sight, just across the water, but forever out of reach. It's a living reminder that geography can be more powerful than politics, and sometimes even stronger than time. But what if the world itself changes? What if the ice melts, borders shift, and time zones redraw? The story of the Diomede Islands may not just be about the past. It may also be a glimpse into the strange ways humans will adapt to geography in the future. The Arctic is warming faster than anywhere else on Earth. Sea ice vanishes earlier each year, storms grow fiercer, and coastlines erode into the water. For Little Diomede, perched on fragile cliffs, this isn't abstract science. It's survival. The people here are already discussing what happens if their island becomes uninhabitable. Will they move to the mainland? Will their traditions vanish with the rock and ice? Meanwhile, Russia keeps its outpost on Big Diomede, guarding what feels like the edge of tomorrow. The border may remain closed, but the forces of nature don't care about politics or lines on a map. Sooner or later, change will come to the Bering Strait, and with it, perhaps new ways of thinking about time, borders, and connection. Because if two islands only 2 miles apart can exist in 2 different days, what does that say about how fragile and how strange our human systems really are? 2 islands, 2 nations, 2 different days. The Diomede Islands are a reminder that geography is never just about land and water. It's about the invisible rules we create, the histories we inherit, and the way those choices shape human lives. On one side, a tiny community fights to survive. On the other, a barren outpost marks a line in the snow. And in between, just a strip of icy water. That might be the shortest, strangest, and most forbidden time machine on Earth.